Hi friends, it's Sarah from rufflesandrainboots.com here with a free gnome pattern and a cutie for Valentine's Day. There's also a bit of rage. Boop! If you'd like to make it, just stick around. As always, please like this video so I know you're here crafting with me. Now, as I mentioned, this is one adorable gnome made with a hot glue gun and a free pattern, but things go wrong, really wrong. Anyway, so we're going to start out with the free pattern, which can be found down below in the comments and description box. So we're going to cut one base, two arms, one body, and one hat. You need some faux fur. You need some wood beads for your hands and for your nose. I'm using a 1-inch nose. And then you need a hot glue gun and some scissors. Okay, so to get started, I am putting the body right sides together. And yeah, we're hot gluing it, but we still need the pretty side facing in. So I'm just going to line everything up and glue this long straight edge together. This body type is the easiest type of hot glue body type you want. It doesn't matter if you're making a hook hat like this one or any other style. Now for this hat, we're going to do exactly like the pattern calls out, no additional seam allowance, because it's very similar to top stitching. We put the wrong sides of the fabric together and we're just lining up going on the outside edge and using a detail tip glue gun. Now why that's important is this hook right here. You can absolutely hand stitch this as well. I think I have that in the pattern as well. But for the hot glue, you're going to want to use something pretty precise because we do want to be able to stuff this hook. So in order to do that, you're just going to let that glue set and then take really small pieces of polyfill and stuff it in there. You can use the skewer. I like to use whatever is closest to me, and that was the scissors. And then you're just going to add a little bit of hot glue, tippity tap it. You don't have to press it. If you press it together, you will see that hard edge. So you just tippy tap it together and it was perfectly fine. Then we're just going to add a little more stuffing. Tippity tap. There you go. Tip, tip, tap. Add a little stuffing. Now, once you're past the hook, you can do it just a little bit more aggressively, but do wait for the hot glue to dry before moving on to the next step. So here you can see, I'm just going to go to that yellow pin, which is what the pattern calls out. Now I'm going to do the cheater version of tailoring, and that is after we complete the item, now we can just hack off anything that isn't perfectly lined up. Isn't that nice? It's cheating, but it totally works. So use some precision scissors here to get under this hook and just get anything. If some hot glue came out, get that too. Now for the body, remember we put right sides together, so we want the right side to be facing into the body, and then we're going to pin it just to the right of the seam. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, now we're going to squish these two pieces together. Ready? And this one too. So you're just putting it right in half, and then you're going to join where those two halves meet, right here. Boop. And if you are sewing, you can do this the same exact way. If you are hot gluing, still use pins or you can use fabric clips, but you're just going to split the difference between all of those pins every single time. And I usually leave about 1 inch or 1.5 inches between it. I'm going to get the body out of the way, lay it down on the table, and just use my detail tip glue gun to add an edge of glue. And again, no need to press hard. We're just going to tap, 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 tap. Lightly tap it together. I am using fleece for this, but I have shown how to use felt as well. Additional ways that this free pattern calls out is to use a cone, use a sock. There's all kinds of stuff. You can hand sew it with a little embroidery stitch, like a blanket stitch. So cute. Set that aside to dry. And because these are teeny tiny and I don't want to have to deal with it, we're just going to do the right side of the fabric here and just glue this top edge over onto the bottom. And now you're going to get some arms. You don't have to use arms in this pattern. I've made it a lot without any arms. There are also tips on adding feet. You can also just use a heart, which would be super cute for this particular one. I'm using a bead to make a hand, but you can use mittens or little pieces of fabric tied up. There's my arms. I'm going to set them aside and start pulling on the body. I want to make sure that this is all together and there's no holes. It's not going to come apart because we are going to be adding weight. So once I get that done, I'm just going to turn it right side out and put this seam in between my fingers and rub it so that the seams sit flat. You want the body to be able to stand up on its own. I'm using a Lux, I also bang it on the table. I'm not violent, I promise. I also am using Lux fleece for this, which is a beautiful, like kind of velvety fleece. It's really pretty. Add a half a cup of weight and stuff the body full of polyfill ripped in small pieces. Go ahead and roll that between your hands, press down on the sides just to make sure it's all nice and distributed so that it bounces back when you squeeze it. All the way up to the tippy top. And now we're going to line up the hat and the body. Just line up the back seams. Easy peasy. I like to pin these little tails down just so I can start building the gnome without anything shifting around. Look at her. Well, it was a her, okay? And then it turned into a him. It was tragic. All right, so I'm just going to tuck these up under here, placing them. Just, you don't even have to pin these. They'll friction fit. Now, I decided to try these little tiny wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree. If you've done this before, you know what's coming. I didn't know. I've never used these before. That's too big, so I decide I'm going to use this cute little filigree heart. And then I notice that be mine added dirt. And then I became Beth Dutton for like 20 seconds. Ugh. So I wiped it off and then I angry rage painted both sides white, two coats, and then I painted one side red to match my rage. I'm kidding. I was actually pretty upset because my whole plan got ruined. I was going to make a girl with cute little braids, and then now I'm going to make a boy because I need to cover up that big dirty spot. And so I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut a rando piece of faux fur that was going to be fine if I made it two pieces, but now it's not going to be fine. So I'm just seeing, that'll work. I can hide that little spot up at the top with the nose. It's all about like swapping your plan when things go wrong, right? Doesn't mean I was any less rageful. This is a beautiful fabric and it hurt. I screamed in frustration. So anyway, I'm just going to glue this down all the way on the sides, making sure I have all the little random cuts. I try to use all the faux fur in my stash. I don't like wasting faux fur at all. If you've been here any time at all, you know that. All right, so now for that little part that's supposed to be covered, I'm going to actually pop a nose in there because it works. So I'm using a 1-inch wood round for my nose here. You can use a pom-pom, you can use fabric stuffed with polyfill, whatever your heart desires. That thing is just rolling all over the place. I'm going to glue it to the body first, and then I'm going to remove that and glue down the sides. Just not the very front, but like right maybe 1/8 of an inch behind it. I'm going to get some trim. So I'm going to go and look for some trim. I tried to use a wipe to get this stuff off, but alas, it it was there to stay. So I'm going to protect the beard because I'm going to be gluing something to the inside of the little arms, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue here on something raised so that it has a nice big spot to adhere, and again on the other side, and just pop that in place. And I do hold it until it sets and then remove the little tissue. Now it's time just to apply glue to the arms. And so you can glue the arms in place on either side and in the center if you would like. It will be covered up. While that glue is setting on this side, I'm just adding a little bit more polyfill in the hat to make that transition smoother. And then I do the other side, same thing, glue down the arm and add a little bit of polyfill to hide the transition. All right, now is the time to glue down the back here, and I glue down the entire tail. As I mentioned, I'm going to be adding a little bit of trim, but here's a surprise. Because I moved and I haven't unpacked all these totes, I can't find my fuzzy yarn. So I'm going to be using this Lux fleece in a white. It's very fuzzy. It's very fun. So I just pinned it together, cut off a strip about 1.25 inches thick, and then I'm just going to glue each edge into the center. And that's going to give me a nice, clean, no fray little piece of quote, furry ribbon or yarn that I can use to trim out my gnome. Very few times do I scream in rage at a craft project, but this pink Lux fur. It's just so pretty. It's at Joann's. You can get it online as well. I love it. It does shed a little bit, so you'll have to vacuum after immediately after using it, but I really do love it. It looks amazing in person. So once I get the whole thing done, I'm just going to get the center and I am going to cover up this little edge. So I'm putting it right just inside of the edge. You can see here where my glue goes. I know there's a lot of shadows. This stuff is like a lot of movement. It's beautiful and it's super soft. So anyway, I'm just going to cover that all the way down, and then I'm gonna like U-shape it, like to match my little U-shaped tails, and then do the other side as well. And do make that set, allow it to set all the way before you cut it off. And once you cut it off, you can just round it out, pull off any fallout, and then you are, look at that. Oh, I got to round that one off. But yeah, pull out all the fallout from the Lux fur, and he's done. Supposed to be a she. I promise for all of you wanting girls, I will make a girl soon. I just, do my drop test to make sure it falls flat every time. I do like it. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments section below. As always, thank you. Thank you for being here with me. Please like, share, and subscribe for more crafty fun.